In today's episode, we're going to talk about feeling stuck due to past hurts and disappointments. I am Janelle Jones. I am your coach to help you go through the healing process so that you can boldly live in your purpose. So, today we're going to get right into it. So, why is this important? Why is it important for us to really get over or get past feeling stuck in disappointments? Because a lot of times when we are having issues with disappointments or past hurts, it stops us from reaching our fullest potential. Why? Is because that these things, so past disappointment and past hurts, they normally create two things. They produce more, but I'm gonna highlight two things. The first thing is they normally create a victim mentality. Oftentimes when people are not resolving their past hurts and pains or disappointments, normally it creates a victim mentality, which states that this is what happened to me. These are the things that people did to me. This is the things that stopped me from doing whatever, right? The victim person always looking at the things that have happened to them that has stopped them from reaching their fullest potential or living their life to the fullest. The victim mentality goes inside and says, woe, it's me, right? Mama did this, daddy did this, sister, brother, cousin did all these things. No one was there to protect me. No one helped me. No one showed up for me. Woe, it's me. And normally with the victim mentality, there is an entitlement that comes with that. So normally when we're in this victim mode, we're also having this sense of entitlement. Well, I went through this, so this should happen. You don't know what I've been through to get here. You don't know X, Y, and Z. And Uncle Remus did this to me. You don't know the depths of what I've been through and what I survived for me to be here. Because of that, somebody owed me something. And I'm not here to like limit what you've been through or minimize the things that you have experienced, because some of us have been through some stuff. Some of us has been through so much pain, disappointment, hurts, all those things in our past that is unbelievable that we're still standing today. So I'm not trying to minimize what you've been through. What I am saying that everybody that's probably listening to this YouTube channel has been through something, because we're human. So all of us have faced adverse situation. But if you look at some people thrive in the adversity. Some people they're not even surviving. They're using that thing as their crutch, and they're stuck in that pattern, right? So with you, it's important for you to don't create this victim mentality, because what happens is we are stuck because we're looking for a rescuer. And sometimes it's subconscious, but we're looking for something or someone to just pull us out instead of really digging down and doing the work that we need to do in order to get us to where we need to be. Another thing it creates, it is limiting beliefs. And I know we all heard limiting beliefs before, but when we are going through past disappointments and hurt, it really changes our character, right? If you look at where you are today, and if you think about how you got there, it's because of your environment, your learned behavior, all those things have factored into you today, right? So when we go through past hurts and disappointments, what happens to us, it creates a belief in us. So we failed at something. Let's say we got a divorce, or we failed at business, or we got fired from a job. Those things really impact us internally. Oftentimes we look internally and we see ourselves as failures because those things didn't work, versus seeing the situation as a failing situation. And what that means is, let's say you go through a divorce. The relationship didn't pan out the way you wanted to, which happens often. According to some research, it's like 50% of the time. Instead of you focusing on healing from that divorce, because you need to heal because it's a grief, what you focus on is, what did I do wrong? Oh my God, I'm a failure. Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't make this work. And if you focus on that, you get up on failing divorce instead of just working on how you can heal from it. What happens to you is you begin to believe that you are a failure. When you believe that you are a failure, then every aspect of your life begins to generate that same response. So let's say your business, or you didn't fail, or you felt like you failed in your divorce. So you felt like a failure because of this divorce. Let's just say that was your experience. You could have did this. You should have did this. A, X, Y, and Z. You go through the list of things, which we all normally have a list of things that we could have done better, right? You go through the list of things that you could have done. Then you begin to feel regret and disappointment with yourself, right? Now, this is in your personal life. And then what happens, let's say you're in a professional. So you go to your job, and then you bring that same energy to your job, and now you're not trusting yourself. When you were married and you choose this person to spend the rest of your life with, you knew that you were going to spend the rest of your life with this person. You didn't get married to get divorced, right? So now you're disappointed because the expectation you have for that relationship is no longer there. It dissolved. So now what happens is you take that personal part and you bring it into your professional life. So now you're not trusting yourself, because when you got married, you were sure. You knew without a shadow of a doubt this was the person. You had no qualms about it. You saw the future. You saw y'all traveling, having kids, having a house. You saw all of that. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out. So then you begin to trust yourself in your decision making, because that experience taught you or made you feel like you can't trust you. Does it make sense? So this is why it's important for you to really get past the disappointment and hurt, because it keeps you stuck. So if I feel like I'm a failure and I don't trust myself, I'm going to second guess everything I do. I'm not going to play big. I'm going to show up very small. I'm not going to put myself out there again for fear of failure, fear of vulnerability, and fear of success, the unknown, the uncertainty. How do I get there? Does it make sense? So it's very important for you to understand when you're going through these past disappointments and hurts. You have to understand, like, okay, I'm feeling stuck, but why? Here's the thing about past disappointments and hurts. Sometimes we don't identify or recognize why we are feeling stuck or disappointed. Now, everything is not a trauma. Everything is not related to your childhood. I get that. But there's something in your life that causes you to stop and feel stuck. And you need to analyze what that is, right? So when we're talking about kind of like finding, or how do we do this? What do we need to do in order for us to really get unstuck from these past hurts and disappointments? One, you need to acknowledge they exist. A lot of us are just floating through life, and we are hurt. Our hearts are broken. See, we think that we heal from it because we keep going. That's surviving. You're going despite something happened. That's surviving. That's not thriving. The reality of it is there's a lot of things in your heart that is not resolved. Look at the patterns of your life. Are you really doing the things that you believe that you're called to do? Are you really operating in your full gifts and your purpose? Are you really where you want to be? Analyze that. That's a big thing. Identify, analyze it. Am I truly where I want to be? What is in my life that is stopping me from reaching my best self? Now remember, we're not in competition. There's nobody on this planet Earth like you. Nobody. So you don't have to compare yourself to anyone. But there is a best version of you. There is a best version out there that God created you to be. It is not to be in competition with anyone else but for you. We can't reach elevation. We can't grow higher until we really become that person that we need to be. A lot of us, if you're in that victim mentality, woe is me, you owe me, I can't believe this happened to me, how are you going to be successful? If you look at your best person, like where you want to be, you identify somebody that you know is doing the things that you want to do. I guarantee you that person is not operating in the victim mentality. They may have at one point in their life, or they had limited belief, but they were able to successfully heal from that. Because it blocks us, it keeps us stuck. So if this person has been through the work and was able to successfully do the things that you want to do, you have to go through that same thing to get you there. The process may be different, but the character building is the same. You got to go through a process. Does that make sense? So you can't say, I want to be this, but then I'm operating on this level. You ain't showing up. You late to everything. You ain't doing the things that you need to do. You're not calling people back. You're not responding. You got an attitude every time somebody says something to you. That's not operating on this level or on this level. So you really have to ask yourself, what is it that I am stopping myself from doing, which is self-sabotaging, to get me to the level that I am designed to be? Ask yourself that. So we know that you have to first identify it, we have to access it, and you need to heal. Again, some of us are not going through the healing process. Healing is not Oh, this happened to me. I'm going to do this for 3 weeks and I'm good. That's why some of us is so broke with our souls. Our souls are so broken because we're not healing. We're not going through that proper process to heal. We're just putting a band-aid on it until the next thing happens. And that is what is keeping you stuck. What is the healing process? You need to ask God about that. And you have to understand that healing is a process and is a choice. You choose to heal. You have to really put that in your mind. Okay, so when you go through the process of healing, you really have to understand that if you really open your heart and you really ask God to help you, He will begin to show you the areas that needs to be healed. Let's say your purpose is to be a coach, and you are to coach people who've been through a divorce. I'm gonna use that same example. Well, if you're tore up, because a lot of times, again, we think we cool. We think we like, I'm straight. I don't need nothing else. And the reason why we think that oftentimes because it's out of sight, out of mind. We ain't dealing with it. You ain't seen homeboy in, a year. Because you haven't seen him in a year, that pain is just dormant. It doesn't mean that it's resolved. Dormant and resolved are two different things. So you ain't seen the person you divorced or broke up with in a year. And you think you're okay. But let's just say you walking down the street and you see him and all this stuff start bubbling up, or her, all this stuff start bubbling up. I mean, resentment, fear, all anxiety, all that stuff starts bubbling up when you see him. That is a clear sign that you're not over it. But let's just say, for this example, God has called you to help other divorcees heal through the process. You start your business and you go through it, and then you realize you haven't healed. You realize, I still got some work to do, which is fine. But if you go in there with the mentality of, I'm a victim, or I still have all these limiting beliefs, you're not going to help people break through. Because your people who you are called to serve can only go as far as you go or have gone. And if you haven't truly gotten through that process, and I'm not saying it's reconciliation when you forgive or heal. I'm not saying you ain't got to go back to homegirl or old boy and be like, let's try to work things out. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying, though, is really identifying where you are in this process of healing so that you're able to help the people that God has called you to help. There are things that only your healing wisdom, is wisdom that only your healing can provide to you to make you understand. Does that make sense? There's wisdom that your healing gives, not your brokenness. Your brokenness helps when you're just asking God to show you and help you and heal you. You need that. But when the healing part begins, it is wisdom that God will pour into you. I guarantee it will pour down onto you so that you can truly help people. Your blind spots, things that you didn't see, like, oh, I get that part. Let me go ahead and add this to my program to help people, right? Let me show them how to differentiate between a failed situation and being a failure. Does it make sense? Oh, I get it. But if I think I'm a failure, I can't help them differentiate. If I think I'm a failure, there's no way I can help them differentiate between what happened and who I am. Because those are two different things. One is situational, one is identity. Who you are is who God created you to be. And you need to, that's side note, you need to see yourself as who God created you to be, not through the past, your lens, or your hurts, or your traumas, or your disappointments. You have to see how God sees you. Now, if you can relate, have you been there? Drop a comment. Have you been in this position where you know that you didn't properly heal for something in the past that you've been through, the breakup, the firing, all the past stuff that you've been through stopped you from really moving forward? Drop a comment if you've been through that. Like, yes, you know what? I wanted to do X, Y, and Z. I did this and went through the process. And when I did that, it didn't work. It made me internalize failure. It made me look at myself as a failure. And it stopped me from trusting myself. It stopped me from moving forward. It stopped me from showing up as my best self. It made me compete with other people. It stopped me from healing. And then since then, I just plateaued. If that's you, drop a comment. Does it make sense? So for you, it is very important for you to make sure that you are going through the process of healing from being disappointed. And I know I shared this with you before. Whenever we're in a space of feeling disappointment, normally it's because of an unspec expectation or an unspoken or spoken expectation that wasn't met. And then we're disappointed. And if we're not careful, that disappointment begins to go into resentment, then bitterness, right? And then we have a whole another thing that we're working out. So for you, if you really want to get stuck and move into your purpose, and this is what it's all about, because at the end of the day, it's not about you. I know it feel like it. I know some of the things that you feel like is very personal, but at the bigger picture, it's almost like if you look at a child, they don't see big pictures. Their brain can't think in the capacity of wholeness. Normally, that don't happen until you're 25 when your brain is fully developed. So they can't see the bigger picture. That's why when you ask sometimes an 18-year-old, they are not looking at the 10 years from now. They're looking at right here because that's their functionality with their brain development. They can't go beyond that because they don't have the developmental tools or the brain level to do so. Does that make sense? So with you, it's the same thing. It is the same thing when we're looking at the past hurts and traumas. We're not healing from our disappointments. We're not healing from it. And we're playing double dutch and we're like, God, where you at? God, come on, what you gonna do? And God like, dude, I can't level you up because you're dragging all this stuff. Like you identify yourself through your pain and your trauma, but that is not who I called you to be. And you like, you know what, God, I ain't got time for that because that means I got to work on myself. Deuces, right? And there's so much beauty in working on yourself because it builds your character and it helps you to get to the best version of yourself. All right. So remember, whenever you're feeling stuck, address and look at, are there any past disappointments or hurts in your life that is causing you from doing that? Are you playing victim or are you actually limiting yourself in your beliefs? Whatever it is, you have to go through the process to heal. You need to identify what's happening. You need to analyze it, assess it, and then you need to heal. Start the healing journey. It's a choice and it's a process. All right. Now, please do me a favor. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and make sure you share this with your friends and anybody you know who can benefit from this actual episode. All right. I love y'all. Remember, we're in tune with Empowerment TV, where we talk about authenticity, purpose, and power. You are so amazing. And don't you ever forget that. You don't have to compete with no one but the best version of yourselves. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good day.